Hello, everyone. We're about to get started. If you can please take your seats, I'll give you a few seconds. If you haven't found your seat yet, we do have lots of seating here on the left-hand side. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Velocity 5K semifinals night one for winter 2023. We're excited for you to hear from our student teams as they pitch their business ideas in hopes of winning $5,000. My name's Tina Wilton. I'm the Entrepreneurship Experience Manager at Velocity, and I'll be your MC for tonight. This term, we had 102 applicants, the most in over 2 years. Our reviewers selected 28 semi-finalist teams who will pitch tonight and tomorrow. At the end of this round, 8 lucky teams will be informed that they're moving on to the finals, which are happening on March 30th. And that's where they'll pitch to a new panel of judges, and 4 of them will be awarded $5,000 in grant funding to grow their business. Tonight, you'll hear from 14 teams, and each will have 3 minutes to pitch, followed by 3 minutes of Q&A with the judges. Speaking of judges, let's introduce them now. We have Laurentina D'Souza, who is a UW Science and Business graduate who's been involved in the KW entrepreneurship ecosystem for over 7 years. She's consulted for startups at WattSolve, supporting startups at Velocity Science and Greenhouse, managing product development at Samos Insurance and Canota Health, and co-founding Mox Health, which won this competition in spring 2020. Welcome, Laurentina. Eric Blondeel studied chemical engineering at UW, where he earned his bachelor's degree and PhD. He has co-founded 2 Velocity and Y Combinator backed startups, Canota Health and Samos Insurance. Welcome, Eric. Mozam Khan holds a Bachelor of Science and Masters of Business Entrepreneurship and Technology from UW. He's also an alumnus of the Velocity Incubator, having founded healthcare startup Curiato in 2015. Mozam now serves as the Director of Health at Velocity. Welcome, Mozam. Thank you again to our judges for lending their time and expertise this evening. Here's the order of pitches for tonight. Alive will start things off, then Arami Health, At Market, Evoke, Foodage, Forest Origin, Haystack FS, and Jot.ai. Then we'll take a short intermission, followed by Joey, Metacycler Bioinnovations, Nitron, PharmaVox, Trash Talk, and Viz. All right, let's get started. Our first team tonight is leveraging generative AI to improve the animation process for studios and independent creators. Pitching for Alive is Andy Wu, an undergraduate student studying computational mathematics from the Faculty of Math. Come on up.
Hello. Testing. Right. Hi, my name is Andy, and this is Alive. Your imagination is an extremely powerful and creative tool. However, like most of us, you've probably accepted the fact that you'll never be able to see your imagination come to life as some sort of animation or illustration, because it's an extremely time-consuming and expensive process. Even with existing generative AI technology that can improve this process by over 10-fold, it's extremely difficult for animators and illustrators to incorporate it into their workflow. As such, our mission is to be able to bridge the gap between AI and creatives, by providing a suite of generative AI-powered tools to help individuals who are creative realize their imagination and quickly develop quickly and accurately. Our workflow will enable users to provide rough sketches and scene descriptions, and from that, generate high-fidelity animations. With those animations, they'll be able to fine-tune it and change things such as the composition, coloring, and fix frame discrepancies. All of this will be encapsulated within a process that is easy to integrate in the artistic workflow. This is an example of such a generated animation. Our target market currently is individual creatives, that is hobbyists and freelancers. This is a $1 billion market opportunity. Eventually, we hope to expand towards animation studios across North America and ultimately the globe as a whole. In total, it's a $375 billion market opportunity. With such a lucrative opportunity, generative AI has gathered over $1.4 billion in funding from venture capitalists over the past few years. And our existing competitors, such as Runway and Midjourney, have demonstrated that there is a growing interest in tools to help people realize the artistic vision. However, as you can see with the image on the right, these tools and solutions aren't exactly perfect. Our strategy in year one will begin by understanding users. Then, with that information, we'll be able to better develop an MVP and eventually conduct a pilot test. By year two, we want to continue this development and also implement a freemium business model. Eventually, we want to also reach out to smaller studios across Canada and the US and see how we can best integrate our solution into their workflow. Joining me on this journey will be Bing, and together we have a combined experience of over 8+ years in the machine learning and AI space. We're seeking the 5K to be able to pay for our compute and development resources, and also funding for our free release of the MVP and pilot testing. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for that. I guess, should we just jump right into questions? Great. Can you tell me, what do you feel makes you unique against the plethora of other companies that are kind of getting into this space right now for your offering?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of our existing competitors also exist in like the generative AI space. However, they aren't kind of doing the similar thing such as like what we're doing. What they're doing is mostly taking existing, for example, footage and applying some sort of like rotoscoping styling. It's sort of like a filter, and we're doing something different. Our goal is to be able to basically get people who have like no artistic ability, be able to draw rough sketches, for example, like stick figures, and transform that into some sort of animation. The current solutions are basically you need to provide some sort of existing video, like film yourself, and then they'll kind of like stylize it that for you.
So two questions. One is, what is the problem you are solving, and why is it worth solving?
Yeah, good question. So the problem is that, like I said earlier, everyone wants to create something. And this can be showcased in the fact that over 3 million plus videos are uploaded daily on YouTube, right? So there's a creative in every one of us, and each of us want to tell a story, but that's not always possible. And something such as an animation, an illustration is like a very streamlined, easy way to do so. But it's extremely difficult for people to make their own animations because it's time consuming and expensive. So that's the problem that we're trying to solve.
Hello? Okay, yeah. So given that DALL-E and other visual AI already exist out there and they tend to produce some really glitchy end results, how exactly will you and Bing be working to make your software more technically precise when it comes to prompts or making things easier for animators?
Yeah, good question. So the main thing that separates us from like DALL-E and Stable Diffusion, the existing solutions, is that we want to build kind of like an interface that integrates all these different solutions together, as well as like improve on things such as like frame inconsistencies, right? So for example, a lot of the solutions that like do generative video don't have a lot of like frame consistencies, and there's a lot of flickering. So our solution will work on improving that, making it more stable, and also just all in all, make it an easy to access interface that can integrate into the artistic workflow.
Do you have any current relationships with any creatives, any like users?
Not at the moment, but that's our plan for the future.
If I could offer some encouragement, start there.
Okay.
Go speak to who you believe your target users are going to be, and before you build anything, have a better idea of what they would actually buy from you, and then build that.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Arami Health empowers Black women dealing with infertility and fertility assessment tests to improve their chances of conceiving and having a healthy pregnancy. Pitching for Arami is Hala, who is a Master of Business Entrepreneurship and Technology student at Conrad School.
Hello. Hello, I'm Hola. I'll be talking to you today about the serious problem that affects Black women. I experienced it. My co-founder also experienced it, and how Harami is going to help. Harami is actually an African dialect, which means my body. Found out that Black women are twice as likely to have infertility issues, and a major cause of this is fibroid. A solution is a fertility assessment test that's able to predict the presence of a gene that could lead to infertility. We're also going to provide a community whereby women who need assisted fertility can reach out to right doctors who will tailor to their needs. Our mission is to be able to improve the chances of Black women conceiving and having a healthy pregnancy and baby. To do this, we carried out a number of interviews to validate that this problem actually exists. We interviewed over 60 people. Inclusive of these were Black women, and most of them attested to this. Most of them said fibroid actually limited their chances of conceiving for several years. When we spoke with gynecologists, they also gave the same feedback. Most of the patients that come to them at the end of the day come late, and when this thing is later detected. A particular person, Bola, she said she felt lonely and alone on this journey when she had fibroid and fertility, and it felt like nobody actually understood her. The market opportunity we're looking at is this. We found out that over 25% of Black women from the age of 20 are estimated to have fibroid, which would affect their fertility later in the future. This market is about 120 million worldwide, and Africa alone represents a quarter of this total population. The industry we're going to be playing it is called femtech. This is a growing industry currently. It's valued at about 32 billion worldwide. However, our target is Africa. Africa alone contributes about $27 million. And we intend to start with Lagos. Lagos accounts for about $5 million. We're going to be generating revenue in 3 ways. First is through the sales of the test kit on our platform, and through channels like pharmacies and hospitals. We're also going to be having a subscription-based model. These are for people who need an assisted fertility. And lastly, through advertisement and sponsorship. There are a lot of competitors in this space. However, we won't be dwelling too much on this, but the key takeaway is this. There is none of them is actually focusing on the unique need of the Black women, which is the fibroid. And this is what makes us different. This is the team. Both of us are not medical doctors. However, we have enough personal experience from this issue. We have a science background, and we're sure that this is a test that will work. On our board, we also have an advisory who is a medical doctor and has been in this field for several years. Together, we bring about over 30 years of experience. We're going to use the 5K from Velocity to set up our lab, continue our R&D development for the genetic test. We're also going to use it for marketing and automation of the Arami platform. In summary, Arami Health aims to enhance the chances of conceiving for Black women and also improve their chances of getting pregnant and having a baby. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Hi. Oh, thanks, that was great. Fibroids are a giant problem. I really appreciated your pitch altogether. One thing I wanted to ask, are there any, and I should know this, but I don't, are there any treatments available for shrinking fibroids apart from, some sort of surgical intervention?
There are no treatments currently available except surgical activities to take it out. And most times it leads to more complications.
So the idea being here for a typical user, They come, they work with you, and they learn that they are at risk of fibroids, or maybe they already even have fibroids. So they have the problem. At that point, what are you able to do to help them? Are you helping them conceive despite the fact that they have a fibroid, or?
No, our core solution we're solving is to help them identify the risk of having the fibroids before they even have it. And then if they're able to detect that there's a possibility of having it, they can get medical assistance on time. I believe with time, if we delve deeper into this, we'll find solution to how to even avert the occurrence of the fibroid in the long run.
So it's early detection.
Yes,
Right.
early detection.
I'm not sure if you mentioned this in your pitch, but is one of the problems accessibility to medical professionals?
Can you say that again?
Is one of the problems accessibility? Because you mentioned time, right?
Yes.
Is accessibility to medical professionals one of the issues?
Well, accessibility is one major way to get the problem. I'll take myself as a classic instance. I had fibroid for many years. I didn't know. If you have fibroid, you don't even know. Most times it's asymptomatic. You don't know, no symptoms, nothing till it's very late. But it gets so serious that you can't walk or you get anemic and short of blood, and the doctors start doing investigations. So if we can assess the kit on time and get it made on time, and there's a possibility of saving so many complications that comes with it in the future. It's not just conception. Conception is just one of them, but that's the area we want to concentrate on for a start.
Got it. And you mentioned you had a medical doctor on your advisory board. Is he based? He or she based in North America or Africa?
She's based in Africa.
Okay. And are you setting up pilots right now to do kind of early stage validation for your business model or your go-to-market strategy? Have you started exploring that?
We want to test the validation of the product, the test kit. The next thing we want to do is to get to the lab and start testing and get to know the workable solution before we start business validation. So what we've done now is to validate that the problem truly exists by talking to the gynecologist and the people that are suffering the same thing out there.
And I'm not familiar with that market, but you have to kind of educate me on this. Who pays for this? Would the patients be paying for it? Would the medical professionals be paying for it? Or is there any insurance providers or government that pay for this?
So the patients will be paying for the kit to get tested.
Mm-hmm.
Another way we'll intend to raise some money and revenue in it is by selling to the pharmacists and doctors who are also going to be part of the community that will providing advisory services to the patients. Another thing is for fertility clinics that will want to advertise on the portal. That's the three ways we intend to raise and sustain the business in terms of funding.
So it's privatized.
Yes, it's privatized.
If I can offer a suggestion, so mostly for privatized clinics, one of the ways what they're looking for and why they will adopt your solution is if it helps them increase their own revenues as well, right? So just a piece of suggestion, kind of just try to think of how you can bake that into your value proposition, because it's essentially you're going to be using them as a channel.
Yes, so we're not charging the specialist or gynecologists for being on the platform. So the people come to us and they take over them as their patients and work with us. Their feedback from them helps us go back again to the lab and extend the service, or what better way to extend our services. So they will be making some revenue by getting clients from us while we sell the kit as well. And then in the long run.
Oh, sorry.
Next, we have @Market, a company which provides custom email addresses. The founder of @Market is Bobby Zhang, an undergraduate from the Faculty of Math who is studying computer science.
Hello. So, hello, my name is Bobby and I'm presenting @Market. We are making domain names work for developers. So the problem is that we are all out of really good domain names. And the reason is they're only like a few dollars a year, and really good domain names typically get sold for millions of dollars. For example, carinsurance.com sold for $50 million and NFTs.com sold last year for $15 million. Because of this, a lot of investors come to the market and they register like literally hundreds of domain names, anything that they think is good. and sit on it and hopefully resell it for a profit. And as a result of that, if you're a developer and you're looking for a domain name for your website, it's really, really hard to be able to find a really good domain name because a lot of domain names are taken. Our solution to this problem is we're going to take a domain name and we're going to allow multiple people to use it. So for example, if I'm sick and tired of my Gmail address, I can go and register a custom email at makes.investments, which is a domain name that we actually own. So I can be Bobby at makes.investments, and some unrelated party could be Alice at makes.investments. And 1,000 other people can do this, 1 million other people. This kind of scales infinitely. And you can actually do that right now on our website, which is live at @market. We have over 600 domain names to choose from, really high quality domain names, probably the best collection that I've personally ever seen. And we're currently getting 5,000 visitors to our website per month. We have 3,000 users from over 100 countries, and we're getting 5 to 10 signups a day for our service. And this is all with minimal marketing, and it's all organic traffic. The next feature that we're building is subdomains. So for $10 a year, we're going to allow developers to use 10 subdomains for whatever website that they're building. And I've talked to my users, and they've indicated that this is a really good price, and they'd actually pay like 5 to 10 times more if we decide to charge that. But this would actually be 10 times as cost effective as registering your own domain name. And it also is just overall better because it removes the hassle of having to actually find a good domain name, because they can kind of like choose from our selection already. And so the market is about $8.6 billion in size, the domain registrar market. Biggest players are Namecheap and GoDaddy, and the total addressable market for us is 1 billion. And this is a project developed by a solo developer, which is me. I'm doing computer science here. My products have been product of the day on Product Hunt twice, so that's like on the front page. And I have one of the best domain name collections I've ever seen. And I'm personally really, really good at registering domain names. So yeah, this has been @market. We are making domain names work for developers. Thank you.
Hey, great progress. Why are people using this? Just to like your users, the example that you had in your pitch didn't quite make sense to me.
So
I grasp that like domain names are hard to get. I paid
Yeah.
$50K for my last domain. It
Oh,
sucked.
okay. Cool.
So like, walk me through why they're sharing the domain name.
So, well, first of all, the current product that we have is just for fun. It's for vanity. Like everyone has a Gmail address, and it's kind of not really that great. Like you have to, all the usernames are taken. You got to add a bunch of numbers, and also it's at Gmail, which is not interesting. And we just have really great domain names. Like I can be like Bobby at Likes Technology, and that's just a lot more interesting. I guess it's for vanity, but our number one acquisition method is like people literally just type random stuff into the browser bar, and then they just land on our website, and it says, hey, get a free email address, and then they do that. So a lot of our users come from that. We have over 600 websites, and every 600 domain names, and every domain name has a landing page that says, hey, get a free email. And that happens every day. Like, literally today it happens several times. Our most popular one is bingchilling.com. So. Right now, no, but we plan to with our subdomains. We're just gonna charge you $10 a year for 10 subdomains. You can use 10, do whatever you want.
So how exactly do you plan on scaling and keeping up with competitors such as GoDaddy, especially when your consumer base changes from people doing this for fun to more serious things?
So right now, we're trying to find product market fit with this like subdomain renting business. And I think once we do that, what happens is on every other domain registrar, a domain name is a loss-making liability, and then on our website, a domain name could potentially make you money. Like you know, bring your domain name to our website, and then people use it, and then we share the revenue with you, and it becomes like passive income. And then when that happens, I think word will get out, and we will just gain a lot of market share.
So how many users are you hosting on various emails at this point?
We have 3,000 users.
Is there any way you can monetize the fact that you have the email addresses of 3,000 people without, you know, pissing them off?
I thought about like putting ads in their emails, but I think people wouldn't like that. Also,
I mean, you could charge them for having ad-free use of the email. We're out of time though, but thank you. This was great.
Next, we'll hear from Evoke, a team looking to host open source AI models on the cloud through API. They'll be represented by Richard Gao, an accounting and financial management student in the Faculty of Arts.
Testing. Okay. So yeah, this is Evoke, and I'll just start with the problem. So the problem that's really plaguing a lot of AI app developers right now, which is a growing market, is that there's a lot of good open source AI models. For example, like Stable Diffusion, there's GPT J6B, and a few other ones, but there's no good way to deploy them. Deployment is always just a complex process. It's hard to set up all the cloud infrastructure, as we can attest to that. But how we plan to solve this with our solution at Evoke is that we'll host these models and deploy them on the cloud, and they can be callable through an API. So if you're developing an AI app, it's just calling an API, and it's very easy to access. And our main focus right now is image generation, and with a business model is that we deploy these models in the cloud. And when you use an API, it incurs a very small charge, and you charge on a per API call basis. So it's a pretty common pricing model in the API world. And this is just a quick demonstration of what Stable Diffusion can do. And this is also with some of our proprietary stuff with prompt tuning and touching up some of the images on our end as well. But as you can see, it can produce some pretty good images with some pretty simplistic prompts already. As for a competition, there's a couple of people in the space already doing this, and the main issue is that most of them require self-deployment. So they're just another layer on like just cloud, just hosting AI models on the cloud, but it's still pretty difficult. And some of them are also unoptimized as well, whereas we plan to do some stuff in the background to optimize them. And as for the market size, the AI as a service market was worth 5.9 billion in 2021, and it's expected to grow much more by 2028, around 52.8 billion. So quite a lot of growth in that area. And also why Evoke is better than the competition is, first of all, it's easily accessible, so no deployment is needed. It's just via an API call. And as mentioned before, we do some proprietary tuning in the background to make prompting easier and the images better. So we have optimized models, and we're also really quick to release. A lot of these bigger companies like OpenAI aren't really focusing too much on image generation. It's mostly just text generation and very user-friendly. We also plan to make less user input from the user for our API, so less prompting. As for traction, we've been partnered with NVIDIA Inception, which gives us a lot of AWS credits to run on the cloud. In progress, we've had a lot of API calls, around 15K so far in the last 2 months or so. And we've also been partnered with Spark, which is an API NFT minting and image generation service. And as for our team, we have 2 technical co-founders and me, who does more of the business side. And in summary, we're looking for the 5K to really get more money for inference costs and AI training models.
So could you please clarify for me who your target market is? Are these individual developers or?
Yeah, for sure. So our target market is developers who are building their own AI apps.
Okay, and I know you mentioned that you've had 15K API calls since January, but based on your target market, is a per API call charge worth it to them to be spending on your solution versus other competitors?
Yeah, with our API call, with the value we provide, it's been pretty worth it for them since they've been repeatedly making calls and they haven't like stopped. And in the last month, we had around $233 of revenue, and this month, by the end of the month, it's predicted we'll probably make around 500. So it's very it is definitely worth it for them.
Okay, thank you.
How much you typically charge? I don't think you mentioned it per API call.
Yeah, per API call. So it depends on the settings since it is based on how long it takes for the AI to run and generate the image. For default settings, which is what most people use, that's around half a cent per image. So every 2 images is 1 cent. So it's definitely more competitive than a lot of the ones that exist on the market right now. For example, Replicate charges 1 cent per image.
And how do you plan on scaling this?
So how we plan on scaling this is, so something that's come out recently is GPT-4, and we just plan to make prompting much easier. So a lot of these other solutions, they just host a large number of models, so the different variants of Stable Diffusion models. We plan to make prompting much easier so people can use natural language to prompt rather than a lot of these complex like strings of text. And we also plan to have multiple models on there, and that users will be routed to depending on what they're generating. For example, if they're generating something fantasy related, it'll route them to a fantasy model. So overall, just much more intuitive user interface.
Sorry, so not on the technology side, right? A great team. I know you guys can build the technology. How are you going to take this to 100K MRR?
How we plan to do that is so our go-to, I can talk about the go-to market strategy. So in that case, it's just getting more featured on a lot of AI newsletters. So they're all pretty hot right now. And also the partnership that we currently have with Spark, as you might have seen before, that'll also help us. So they've also been doing marketing on the side as well. So that's sort of our beginning plans to get to 100K MRR.
So you've got 15,000 API calls. Roughly how many actual users are on the platform?
Yeah, so in terms of roughly users, there's around 400 signups and around 250 of them are paying users. So
And how much interaction are you actually having with them? Like, are you talking to them? Are you getting feedback?
yeah, so we have a Discord server that's relatively large, close to 3,000 members. So we're getting a lot of interaction on the Discord and also the email as well. We've been getting feedback from them. And what seems to be pretty often what they
Just
want
to cut
is
you off
just-
because we're almost
so-
out of time.
Okay.
You are touching up the images. Are you able to use prompts to touch up the images so they can touch them up themselves?
Yes, that
Cool.
is
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our next team is helping restaurants reduce waste by predicting future demand. Here's footage represented by founder Asose Itua, who is studying mechatronics engineering with an AI option in the Faculty of Engineering.
Hi, I'm Asasa, and I will be pitching for Foodage. The amount of waste that's generated just through the food service industry in Canada alone is equivalent in weight to 12 billion Big Macs, or $13 billion. This isn't just a huge environmental issue, but an even bigger issue for restaurants who are already walking on tightropes with their margins. So I selected over 70 restaurants from medium and large urban centers and spoke one-on-one with their managers or owners. A major source of inefficiency is wastage due to fluctuations in demand, which leads to food that can't be used and then spoils. Especially due to the uncertainties in our now hybrid world due to COVID, it's a problem that 88% of them said they are ready to pay to solve. The solution is Foodage. Foodage combines historical sales data with external factors such as weather, events nearby, trends, etc., so that restaurants can staff and stock accurately. Currently, restaurants only look at historical sales, and they might be doing this by hand or maybe Excel. But Foodage will use machine learning to self-learn and improve on these as time goes on. Studies have shown that for restaurants that try to tackle this issue, an average of $7 is saved for every dollar invested in cutting waste. And given an average of 5% loss through from cost of goods, we estimate conservatively that we can increase their profit by 6%. And this may not sound like a lot, except that in the restaurant industry, the average profit margin is only 2 to 5% in the first place. At this stage of growth, we've developed a prototype and we're working with 2 key restaurants who are helping us to refine our product. And we have 15 restaurants in the pipeline that are ready for a pilot. Unlike meal recovery programs, we take a preventative and not a reactive approach. So our goal is to give restaurants demand prediction down to the ingredients level, and no other company is doing that, especially for independent restaurants in Canada. And by offering this as a plug-in, we can keep our rates competitive. Our price will be $200 per month, and this is from my conversations with restaurants. And this leads to a market of almost $3 billion in North America alone from a bottoms-up analysis. So far we've developed a functional prototype and we secured a restaurant for our pilots. And by April, we plan to be expanding and providing value in the Kitchener, Waterloo, and GTA region. So where I grew up, waste is uncommon. And here I was wondering how I could use my skills to improve the waste situation here. I've already dedicated 1 co-op term to this, and I plan to continue even after I graduate. In addition, we have an outstanding team of advisors, including a MyTax Entrepreneur Awards winner and the past president of Maple Leaf Foods, who are supporting us in our journey. Given this, we'll be using the 5K for app development, dataset acquisition, and to onboard more restaurant partners for our pilot. Once again, Foodage is leveraging existing data to reduce waste up to 13 billion every year with 700% return on investment for restaurants. I hope you help me to help restaurants to save all their wasted dough. Thank you.
Thank you for that pitch. So I was just curious, based on the $200 a month you'd be charging the restaurants, approximately what size would these restaurants be? And that's in follow-up to the next question I have.
What was the last part? What size?
What are the size of these restaurants? Like basically, is there enough staff to be able to, okay, let me backtrack. Given that these restaurants would need your solution, how involved would you be for solution deployment and troubleshooting? Ergo, the size of these restaurants would mean either you're more or less involved. That would be a cost that you have to factor into your solution.
Yeah, so the restaurants I'm targeting are independent restaurants in Canada. Usually they have maybe a couple locations, but I'm not yet targeting the larger like mega chains. For those restaurants, from my conversations with them, they were more concerned about how much they will be saving as opposed to how much it costs them. So for example, Lobster Burger Bar, they were losing, or he estimated $400 per month that they were losing on a slow day. And he was willing to pay half of that, which is exactly $200. So this would be a perfect solution for him.
And what training models or data do you have so far to train your solution?
The technical side. So right now it's more of a time series that accounts for cyclicality and trends that it can find in the data. In the future, I hope to move towards neural networks, which will be much more robust and run faster.
And are these theoretical sets, or with these 70 restaurants you've interviewed, 15 in the pilot, do you have any of their data to help with your model?
The pilots have not begun yet. The current model is the error rate is less than 1%. So that's the estimate right now from the test data, but I want to test it on real restaurant data.
Okay, thank you.
With the pilots.
So, is the vision for the product to be or software solution to be a kind of a platform where they can upload their kind of historical data and will start giving them recommendations? Is that what it is?
That's what I want it to be for the pilot, but eventually I want it to be a plugin into their existing POS system. So like a separate app, but it takes data directly from their POS and gives them those predictions there, so they don't have to do any extra work.
So they have the infrastructure already set up there.
Yes, POS is used by almost every restaurant.
Okay.
That's like where you pay, basically. That platform, it keeps a record of all the sales. So we analyze those and give those predictions.
Cool.
So most of these restaurants, by the way, I love the pitch. I love the solution. What are most of these restaurants doing for inventory management?
Right now, they are doing this themselves. So they look at their historical sales and they look forward and make predictions on that. if they're growing, they will estimate how much they're going by. And so like, I guess a linear and manual solution is what they're doing. But they can't account for every factor. So they can't account for maybe if there's construction going on nearby that they don't know about, or if there's an event nearby they don't know about.
But your model would be able to account for that?
Yes, exactly. So it will take events data like from existing APIs. I don't plan to combine all of these myself, but those existing data plus their historical sales, and it will create more accurate predictions than just the historical sales.
We're out of time, unfortunately, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Forest Origin is using IoT technology to detect wildfires early and prevent their spread, ultimately mitigating their devastating effects on communities and the environment. Please welcome Javier Yanis Polito, an undergraduate student in the Faculty of Math, studying applied mathematics and computing.
Testing. Can you think of a phenomenon that is as worldwide spread, as devastating, and as frequent as wildfires? Regardless of your answer, what I am sure is that this picture hurts you all. But it does especially hurt me because it's Tenerife, my island, burning last summer. When I firstly see this picture, I felt powerless. As I saw how the status quo of satellite-based technology wasn't able to democratize wildfire prevention. My name is Javier, and I got tired of feeling powerless. That's why I started Forest Origin, an IoT-based company that approaches the problem differently by providing easy to implement and cost-effective solution to both customers as individuals and as organizations. And the first reason to invest here is that satellites have proved that they are not enough to tackle wildfires in a context of climate change. Moreover, we are living an IoT revolution, so we must harness the power of sensors to create smart forests. But at this point, you may ask, well, is this all about just buying sensors? The answer is no. After months of research in this area, I have concluded that the best combination is a wireless sensor network with a machine learning algorithm to enhance accuracy. These are roadmap. As you can see here, our next steps and first steps in this company are early detection and prevention. And this because there exists a strong correlation between the size when a wildfire is detected and the probability of being contained successfully within the first 24 hours. In fact, our first big goal is to reduce the average response time in the Canary Islands to just 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Regarding our initial area where we will be implementing more than 60 sensors is the Medianías Ring, which is the wildland urban interface of Tenerife, and where thousands of companies and of landowners have the recurring nightmare of a wildfire. So if you have experience in any of these fields, your perspective will be invaluable in order to construct an interdisciplinary approach to this problem. But above all, what I want to tell you is that if you are also from a region that is prone to wildfires and you have to see your land burn summer after summer, I want to tell you that you are not alone. We are going to change that. We are going to take control. We are going to shorten response time, and ultimately, we are going to save our forests. Thank you.
Thank you for your pitch. Could you please explain to me what the different parameters are for early detection of wildfires and what your sensors or algorithms would be detecting that satellites can't?
Yeah, sure. So our sensors will be detecting humidity, temperature, infrared sensors we'll have to, and light. So our goal in comparison with satellites is to obtain more accurate information on the ground.
Okay, and how do you plan on sourcing the hardware and potentially dealing with the sensors going up in flames if wildfires spread faster than they're detected?
Sorry, can you say that again? So how are we going to implement this network?
Yeah, two questions. How are you planning on sourcing, like acquiring your sensors, and two, dealing with them potentially getting damaged in wildfires?
Okay, so regarding the first question, our sensors, I'm going to craft the sensors based on a Arduino microcontroller, which is going to have embedded those 4 sensors. And initially, I'm going to like place them in the forest, but the idea is that it's an easy to implement product that can be easily implemented by anyone. But for the first stage, I'm going to personally implement them.
Okay, and do you have a timeline for being able to manufacture 60 sensors by yourself?
No, I mean, it's basically, that's just for the first stages, because after that, we are going to decentralize that and we are going to externalize that service. But for the first stage, since it's a prototype, I prefer to do that. I have experience in IoT projects. I'm a big fan of do-it-yourself projects, and I've personally done a greenhouse automation. So I would like to do the first prototype myself.
Okay, thank you.
So the issue with satellite detection is, can you walk me through that one more time?
Oh, sorry, what's that?
Satellite detection. What was the problem with that again?
Oh, satellite detection. The main issue with satellite detection is that it doesn't provide on the ground data. So it has a lot of drawbacks in that sense. But the main point I want to see here is that our solution, it's not a replacement of satellite. It's a complementary of satellite in order to enhance accuracy, because in order to solve such a complex problem like wildfires, we need both solutions or more if they're existent.
So instead of having a bunch of static sensors, could you have something that moves around?
Yeah, of course. So we can complement our sensor with drones, for instance, in order to retrieve even more precise information. So it's going to be dynamic information.
How are you making money?
So we are going to charge a monthly subscription in order to maintain those sensors. But it's important here to say that we're going to be non-for-profit and for-profit. Non-for-profit if we want to protect national parks, and for-profit if we want to help businesses optimize their revenues, like logging companies, for instance.
Our next team is developing a curated search engine for knowledge in social communities. Drumil Patel is a computer science undergraduate in the Faculty of Math and will be pitching for Haystack FS.
So just to confirm, it's like these two. Okay. Okay. Hey, we're from Haystack, and we're building a curated search engine for social communities. So I want you all to imagine, well, you're searching for which iPad to get. So you Google which iPad to get. And the first result is from Wired. In the small print, it says, hey, we're using sponsored Amazon and Apple links. So it's a bit hard to trust that the recommendations are actually genuine and honest. Cool. The next result you get is here. And in the small text, it says the same thing. We got the same problem. What are the next 5? Kind of the same problem. At this point, you might turn to your community, your family, friends, even your bestie group chat, or more likely, online communities like Reddit and Discord for their honest opinion. You can add Reddit to your query like that. But now you need to sift through thousands of posts, comments, and chat messages looking for your information. And if you can relate to anything I've said, you're not alone. 76% of the internet is part of one or more community, and 94% rely on them for information. And yet, despite this big reliance on communities, Discord and Slack groups are massive, but they're walled gardens hidden behind private links that need to be shared on other platforms like Reddit, Instagram, and TikTok. So we see 2 problems. Users need communities for their information, and communities need a better way to find new members. We can build a search engine for communities. We can index conversation and threads using large language models that surface the most relevant information from a conversation or a thread, and then return that information directly back to users while they're searching. We can handle the heavy lifting of finding genuine, honest opinion while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing on the web. The global online communities market is pretty big at $5.5 billion, and we're hoping to tap into this market by connecting with the gaming community first, which would be a monthly $1.2 million. We're hoping to use a freemium model where community owners can pay $10 a month to have information, events, products in their server be updated in real time, and users can pay about $1 a month to get any search for public and private communities, get relevant invite links, people in that community, and be introduced to those communities. Our precursor product was a Discord bot that searched through our precursor product was a Discord bot that allowed users of a single community to search through files in that community. Was added to 380 communities, services requests from 42,000 users, and manages over 1 million files. That bot also received a licensing acquisition offer, and this was done completely organically. The only marketing I had for this project was putting it up on my GitHub page. The Velocity 5K is going to go a long way in terms of getting us compute, server space, and us ready for our alpha launch in May 2023. This team is small but capable. My experience sits in machine learning research as part of deep learning teams and research labs, and so along with software engineering in gaming companies. So join us in building a better way to find communities and the information within them.
Thanks for your pitch. So you mentioned that you plan on charging communities $10 a month and users about $1. What exactly would you say is your break even on the number of communities you need involved and users you need involved to make it worth your while setting up Haystacks?
So if I can get to the root of your question, you're talking about like the ratio between community to user.
Yeah, to make it work. So for you to spend your time setting this up, for
Right.
communities to get enough users, and for users to get the information they need from their communities, how many communities and users would need to be involved? And for it to be profitable for you? if you have
So
those
from
numbers?
the Discord bot that I already released, the estimate I have from there is about, if we're talking like content in the server to the number of people in the server. What? Oh, okay. It was about, I think, this is like a rough number off the top of my head, but it was like roughly like 5 to 10 pieces of information per user in that server for a query. So if I were to scale that up to communities to user, I'd say like maybe roughly like 5 communities for a specific topic for like one user's query.
Okay. And just curious from a more user-centric perspective, what are the different parameters you use so that users can index to get different accurate information?
Sorry, so do you mean allowing users to like choose the kind of information they get,
Yep.
or do you mean this from like a community standpoint?
Either.
Yeah. So I think a large part of the workflow for users is probably going to be learning the kind of communities that they're interested in and the kinds of communities that they respond to. So a nice way to do this is to connect their other accounts on those communities directly to this platform. So if I know that like you're part of XYZ Discord communities or you're part of XYZ subreddits, then it's easier for me to give recommendations along those lines than it is to just basically spitball random Discord and like Reddit recommendations, but none of them are interesting to you. So it'd probably be based on like the existing relationships you have with these communities, and then what other people who are similar to you would find useful. Thanks.
How do you get people to switch from Reddit, Google, whatever, onto your platform?
So I wouldn't necessarily be trying to get people to switch directly from Reddit to using my platform. I don't think it's feasible to compete directly with Reddit because they're pretty massive. I think my workflow would likely be coordinating with these services so that while you're searching or browsing, or really like while you're completing your normal web activities, you can get honest opinion from Reddit, Discord, other communities like that. Yeah. So I can try to. It's a very rough demo, but it'd be pretty like, I'm not trying to replace Reddit. I'm not trying to like replace your service or Discord. I'm just trying to add them in.
So right now, is it mostly Discord focused, would you say, like what you've built?
Yeah, so the precursor product I have right now is entirely Discord focused because that's where I found the most communities. Reddit, I think, is particularly used for searching because it's indexable by the web, but Discord is not. But information is still available on Discord.
Are you familiar with Beeper?
I'm not familiar with Beeper.
Come chat with me after, okay?
Okay. Thank you. I think I'm out of time. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much.
We have one more team before intermission, which is Jot AI. Their project is an intuitive and collaborative whiteboard for generative AI that allows users to produce longer and better quality text. Please welcome founder Kevin Jiang, who is studying management engineering.
Test, test, test. All right. So, hi, everybody. My name is Kevin. I'm a co-founder for Jot, the AI solution for long-form text. And I feel like we've all been there. Half an hour before something's due, and you've got pages and pages of writing ahead of you. And that's really the problem with writing, isn't it? Because writing is time-consuming. Yes, by hand, but even with generative AI, if you make a small mistake near the start, you're gonna have to throw away a lot of that. In addition, AI forgets key information. Did you know that if you write past 3,000 words with ChatGPT, it'll actually forget what you said at the start? And finally, current interfaces are clunky and unintuitive. Word might be great for editing your documents, but it doesn't have great AI capability. And ChatGPT might be great for talking with AI, but you can't really use it for editing. And here's where we come in. See, Jot helps people write faster by adding generative AI to their workflow, write longer by adding a virtually limitless memory capacity to their AI, and finally, write better by providing an intuitive visual interface. And how does it really work? Well, you can see through these arrows over here is basically the flows of information going to any one block. Using large language models, we're able to accurately detect which information is needed or not needed in order to write great text. If you want to change something, with a few clicks of a button, you can easily refresh whichever affected blocks and have it automatically updated for you. In regards to market size, it's a pretty big market, as you can hear. The TAM is 10.6 billion. The TSM for professional writers is 2.6 billion. And our target market, which is 20% of that, is 528 million. If we take a look at our competitors, well, you can pretty easily see that they either all have AI abilities or dynamic edits and collaboration. But none of them really have both, which is where the niche that we come in. In order to get to market, we want to start off with technical writers because as engineering students, that's the field we know best. Next, creative writers with an explicit plot line that's easy for AI to follow. And finally, long-form writing is a tool. So everybody who writes long text, we want to help them be able to write stuff faster. In regards to traction, we launched a proof of concept on Hacker News once. And since then, we have 10K visitors, reached number 3 on the front page, and over 370 people on our waitlist. We're currently conducting user interviews and feedback to really make sure that what we're building is something people really need. And finally, my favorite slide, business model. We can take our strongest competitors' prices, undercut them by 50%, while still keeping 80% gross margins, while achieving ramen profitability for our team of 4 with only 400 customers. This is our team. We're super excited to bring our passion and our world-class talent to help solve this problem once and for all. So thank you everybody for listening, and let's get in touch.
Testing. Hey, I'm Thomas. I'm also a co-founder of Jot, and I'll be taking questions.
Hi, Thomas. I was just curious if your solution is able to combine AI and dynamic edits better than your competitors can. Why the decision to undercut them and win out on being better priced?
Honestly, because they are more established than us, right? So even if we do offer a better solution, we have to give people a reason to try us. And I think the best way to do that is to undercut.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
Okay, explain the collaboration piece with me.
Sure. So maybe I can just go back up. All right. So our solution basically structures your text like a tree, which with each level having greater and greater detail than the level above it. This means that it's easy to make edits that cascade through your tree for each section. When you're collaborating with multiple people, it's kind of like using, I don't know if anyone's used Figma or even Google Docs before. You can just have multiple people in the platform. It would be like a Google Doc link that multiple people can work on.
So is this like Google Docs plus ChatGPT combined together?
In a way, sure, if we're oversimplifying it. But I think that the best way to describe this is it's a way that actually makes AI perform faster and better because it requires less memory and it also allows you to collaborate.
So what's stopping Google Docs and Microsoft's Word and all that stuff, the 365 from doing this as well?
Sure, actually, we thought of that. And so Google Docs and Word all have grammar checkers and spell checkers, right? But
pretty much everyone uses Grammarly. Maybe not everyone, but at least I do. Grammarly just does it a lot better than they do, and they provide an easier interface for it. They don't provide a little squiggly red line that you have to right click on, and then sometimes it doesn't give you what you want, and you get it.
And how many users do you have right now?
So currently our site in the 3 weeks since we've launched has garnered 10,000 visitors. We have about 350 active, 370 active users. And these are people who've also joined our wait list, and we've interviewed some of them to get feedback and kind of develop our MVP more.
So out of curiosity, are you gonna run this? I mean, this particular slide looks like something on Miro. Is that like a platform that you can build this on top of, or how are the users actually working collaboratively with this?
Similarly to Miro right now, but you can export to like a nice text format. This is live, so like it's jot.ai.
So this is what it actually looks like.
Yes.
Okay, so it's on a website, so they're all
Yes. Yeah. So they're using it on the website.
cool. All right, thanks so much.
All right, we are going to take a quick break for intermission. We'll give you about 10 minutes, so if you can come back at 6:15 for the next group of pitches. Bathrooms are at the far end of the main lobby, past the staircase on the left-hand side. Please take a minute to scan the code on the screen and let us know what you think of the event so far. Thanks. 2-minute warning. We will resume in 2 minutes. If you haven't already, please come and take your seats. Thank you. Please come and take your seats. We're going to get started in 1 minute.
Test.
All right, we're going to get started. Last call to come take your seats. All right, welcome back. One quick announcement before I introduce our next team. I am recruiting campus ambassadors. So if you're interested in becoming a Velocity campus ambassador, please send me an email. My email is on the slide. We have lots of ambassadors who help us run events. They help with promotion. They help organize their own programming. And it's a really great community and group of students on campus. So let me know if you have any questions, but feel free to send me an email. We will start recruiting students for the spring term, but we do have a new cohort of campus ambassadors every single semester. All right, so the next team is Joey, a psychoeducational app backed by behavioral science that aims to make mental health education an enjoyable daily habit. They'll be represented by founder Rustin Rasoli, a computer science student who's taking a minor in psychology.
Hi, this is Rustin from Colorful Zone. Growing mental health concerns, especially among youth and adolescents aged between 15 to 25, call for effective prevention methods, and psychoeducation is one of these powerful tools. Learning about mental health or psychoeducation is a powerful asset in building resilience and overcoming challenges posed by mental health disorders. But unfortunately, current psychoeducational resources lack both engagement and personalization. Right now, psychoeducational resources are mainly guidelines, books, or mindfulness apps. And that's why we created Joey. Joey makes mental health education an entertaining and enjoyable experience. We've gathered all of these scientific resources, add a fun story and gamification to it to come up with Joey. Joey's lessons are not boring texts anymore. They're fun, engaging, bite-sized puzzles, games, fun stories, and questions. Users play with the app, and eventually it becomes personalized based on its AI and statistical algorithms. After only 5 minutes of playing with Joey, our users show significant improvement in their mood. The data that you're seeing right now is based on PANAS questionnaire, which is a psychological testing system for moods. Most of the apps in the psychology industry are actually related to psychoeducation, but they mainly focus on specific skills such as mindfulness or habit building. They're not personalized, and they are not fun. For our B2C market, we have a freemium business model, a monthly subscription for the premium version. We've gathered more than 4,500 users, of which 100 are premium in less than 5 months. You can see some of the testimonials of our users. Most of the users are coming through our social media platforms. For our B2B2C market, Joey offers a community package. It includes the premium version, a mental health reporting system, and a monthly mental health journal. Right now, Joey is under a clinical study. It's a joint project between us and Seneca College. It requires $50,000 in capital, and we have to at least provide 10%, $5K, to keep the IP. It's approved by REB, Research Ethics Board of Canada. In case of positive results of this research, which ends in May, we will have received a long-term clinical study. It requires $2 million in capital, of which have to provide at least 10% to keep the IP. Behind Joey is 10 years of experience and 3 successful startups in the psychology industry. Joey's mental health education made fun, personalized, and effective. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful pitch. I noticed in your B2C, you said that you were offering a premium subscription. And then earlier you mentioned that you'd be using AI and statistic algorithm to personalize the app experience. Is this applied to everyone or just premium users? What exactly do premium users get out of this?
Exactly. The premium version, it will be, we call it Smart Joey. It includes the AI. Without the AI algorithm, it just, like for normal people, we don't use the AI algorithm.
Okay, and so with the PANS test that you showed us with the improved mood within 5 minutes, are the effects observed in non-premium users as well? Like if they don't have a personalized experience?
Yes, actually, the testing system is for normal Joey, not premium version.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell me more about your clinical trials that you have planned out?
Sure. So it's a joint project between us and Seneca College. Do you want to know about the procedure or which is
What's the sample size?
The sample size. So right now we exactly we cannot estimate the number of participants who are coming. The trial starts in next week, and we should see some of these, researchers can't specifically say numbers because they cannot predict. Sometimes some users like to participate in some of the applications, and some of the.
And how long is the study?
3 months.
3 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Great pitch, great traction. Yeah, I guess all I can say is I've used quite a few of these apps. I'll download yours and give it a try.
Thank you so much.
I think that's everything.
Thank you.
Next up is Metacycler Bioinnovations, a team that is converting food waste into biodegradable plastic. They will be represented by Eugenia Dadzi, who is a PhD candidate in the Faculty of Science studying microbiology.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Eugenia, and we are Metacycler. We convert food waste into biodegradable plastics. Plastic pollution has been plaguing our planet for decades, so it is great that Canada has placed bans on many plastic products. But the current alternatives just aren't good enough. I mean, those paper straws that fall apart even before you finish your drink? No. This has created an urgency to find new sustainable materials, such as polyhydroxyalkanoates or PHA bioplastics. PHA is a material naturally produced by bacteria using renewable resources like corn as feedstock. It has properties similar to traditional plastics, but unlike traditional plastics, it's fully degradable in all environments. Unfortunately, they're 5 times more expensive, and this is where we come in as Metacycler. Using our proprietary bacteria, we convert cheap waste materials like food scraps into PHA bioplastics, which reduces cost by at least 50%. This enables us to feel the need to shift to sustainable materials, but at a much more affordable cost. In addition to cost, we've identified that material properties, such as how flexible the material is, as well as environmental sustainability, are most important to our customers. And so we've ensured that our product fits them all. So with such huge demand for new materials, the bioplastics market is growing very rapidly and is currently valued at $90 billion US. The PHA market specifically is currently quite small, but it has the ability to fill and even surpass the total plastics market. The only limitation is the current supply of PHA, as well as its limited use in all of its potential applications. So to enter this market, we plan to sell our PHA to manufacturers who will in turn use our material to create their own products. This will allow us to scale quickly over time while still filling that demand from manufacturers. Our prototype is backed by years of research and development, and our team is rapidly gaining momentum. We already have customers that are interested in our product and our demos, such as Agile Manufacturing, which is the largest industrial 3D printing company here in Canada. We also plan to roll out our product in 2024 once we've been able to scale our research and we've gained some investment. The only thing holding us back currently is the amount of PHA we produce. So for demos, we require grams of the material, but for sales, we require kilograms. We currently only produce about 250 milligrams per week, but with an additional $5,000 in funding, we will be able to scale our research or quadruple our production, which will bring us to market faster. So I invite you all to join us on our journey as we metacycle the waste out of the environment and create the new materials of tomorrow. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nicole, and I'll take your questions. I'm also a PhD student at the University of Waterloo.
Hi, Nicole. I was just wondering, when you mentioned targeting plastic manufacturers with your PHA pellet product, were you planning on targeting manufacturers that are working on non-biodegradable plastics and switching them to use PHA instead, or manufacturers that already use PHA switching to your PHA since it's more affordable?
Yeah, so right now we're looking at both avenues. To come to market, we are looking at companies that are looking to add PHA to their portfolio of products and not necessarily convert them, but add PHA as a material to their repertoire.
And it was mentioned that you're currently producing about 250 milligrams per week of PHA, but you need to scale up to kilograms for sales. So are there any scale-up processes already in the works?
Yes, so currently we're working on scaling to the gram scale initially. And to get to the kilogram scale, this would be growing thousands of liters of our bacteria to produce the PHA. And that would be after gaining investment.
And with the bacteria that you have, are they monoculture or are they multiple bacteria?
We're working with just monoculture, one bacteria.
Okay, thank you.
So you both in Trevor's lab?
Yes.
Yeah, I love him. He's a great guy. Out of curiosity, have you spoken to any like municipalities? For instance, like Waterloo obviously has a green bin program. Are they willing to kind of pilot with you at all in terms of giving you access to a large collection of food waste?
Yeah, so right now we have access to food waste through programs that we're in with our lab. And we're looking to more target industrial food waste so that we can get large amounts of the waste to supply to our organisms rather than smaller supplies.
Oh, that makes a fair amount of sense.
So you had on the traction side all those logos at the bottom and you're starting a pilot. Let's say you're a commercial company or you're going towards that already, right? So what's the value of those contracts, potential contracts on an annual basis? Do you have a rough estimate?
Yeah, it really, so with those ones specifically, like the 3D printing company, we're looking at creating quite a high value polymer for them, for the 3D printing market more specifically. So that one would be a much higher value contract, looking at more of like the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, where we can also look at when we can scale up further, targeting like the food packaging and
So the reason why I say that is because when you're pitching, the timeline looks great and everything, but you can say like this would take us to this much, hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, and these are all the logos that we've been working with.
Yeah.
Right? And then you also had a slide where it says 700 and something companies in Ontario. Might worth, if you don't want to put it on your slide, but might worth be mentioning what the total value there on an annual basis would be looking like.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Nitron is a new type of personality engine that focuses not on dialogue and NLP, but instead on user behavior, allowing video game NPCs or personal assistants to feel more human. Pitching tonight for Nitron is Zach Waite, who is an undergraduate in the Faculty of Engineering studying software engineering.
Hi, my name is Zach, and I'm here to present Nitron. We are a B2B SaaS company that's working to improve virtual interactions, specifically interacting with NPCs in video games. Our engine takes a unique approach to virtual behavior, where we take interactions and use those to generate emotions, and then use those emotions to generate actions for NPCs. So I'm sure that many people here have played video games with NPCs, and I'm sure that many of you have also seen the abnormal behavior that NPCs can have. I've had fun times with my friends laughing at Skyrim NPCs for sure, but when consumers are laughing at your product and it's not on purpose, that's probably not great for your product's representation. So we've seen in modern times that AI can create hyper-realistic dialogue, but actions and behaviors are a missing piece of the puzzle. And so our technology will be able to target NPCs, but also virtual assistants and perhaps metaverse characters. So as I've said, our solution is a different approach to character control. It's not about dialogue and hard-coded actions. It's truly dynamic with interactions and taking in environmental factors to generate behaviors and actions. So we're going to give anyone the ability to have dynamic NPCs in their video games. So development started at the end of last year. To prepare for our test integration with our API, we've created a V0 engine with a basic TensorFlow model, and we've also begun development of our V1 engine, which is deep learning, improved model, and improved engine architecture. As well as a proof of concept, we're developing a demo video game focused on NPCs. We believe that this is crucial to show consumers and other businesses that our market is important, and we think that it's very crucial for scaling our company. We believe we're going to have 3 phases to our business model. So at first, we're going to have internal API that is going to be proven in our video game beta to show that there's a market for what we're building. And then after our tech is proven, we'll release a web API for cloud gaming. And after we are confident in our API as a static feature, we will be releasing it as a licensed software. So in a survey of 1,000 gamers, we can see that there is a need and an interest in this type of technology. So specifically, statistic number 4, if we look there, 79% of gamers would be likely to buy a game with intelligent NPCs, and 81 would be willing to pay more for a game with advanced AI. So there's significant consumer interest. Our product timeline. So V1 we expect to be done in May, followed by our potential release model, beginning development after that. And by the end of the year, we plan to have our video game demo done and release our cloud API. Most of the team is remote, but I will have them up on the screen here, and then I will take questions. So thank you for listening.
Hey, Zach, thanks for the great pitch. So for the demo game that you're going to do, are you which kind of platform are you planning to use? I was assuming you're going to like mod some existing game and kind of put a plot in.
So this is going to be a short demo game. So we are building it from scratch. It's not modded off of something else. We don't plan for it to have a super long play time. We want it to basically be a demo to show where our technology can be used and make an API that will eventually be integrated into platforms such as Godot, Unreal Engine, etc.
Have you thought about doing a mod of something existing that has like an existing community of players so that you could get rapid feedback and it might not take as long to get it up in front of them?
That is something we have not considered, but I now will.
Come see me after, by the way.
Okay.
What have you done in order to validate that there's actually a need for this?
So the statistics there were a real big boost for us, and we have talking to people.
So those stats are that you collected those stats, or you found them online?
So those are stats we have found online. Again,
No.
there is.
So what did you do specifically?
So we have reached out to different video game companies. There are some in San Francisco, and we're in conversations. We've gotten some good information from lead ML engineers at the Cohere API. I've had people on my team reach out to them, and we've heard that they're very interested in what we're doing. And specifically when we're working in actions and behaviors, that is something that is similar to what does exist in terms of dialogue, but is still an open market that has not really been captured.
So follow up to that question, then the stats that you showed us were gamers who'd be willing to pay more to have a better NPC experience. But as far as, and if my understanding of this is correct, actually developing the games with humanized NPC behavior, how many game developers struggle with this that they would want your solution?
So we believe that big companies are always working towards improving things like this, but having a platform like ours, specifically starting off with the cloud gaming API, will allow for any small developers to be able to integrate this at different levels. So if they want it to just be 5 actions that we have at our base model, they'll have that, and then they can scale up to have infinite abilities and things like that, where we really do use ML to generate lots of different behavior.
And do you have any data that you've collected about the instances in which developers would need to implement your solution? Like you mentioned 5 different actions. If people are only using your solution for one action, is that worth your time to be spending on this?
I would assume one action is no, but our API is basically going to allow different levels. So if you want to have full control, where our thing takes complete control of the actions, that will be available. And it really is about how much data they give us. So interactions are about anytime a player walks past another player, if they talk to another player, you attack another player. All these things are then taken into our engine, and they're able to produce improved emotions, and that's able to give us improved data for the behavior of those players and NPCs.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from PharmaBox, which automates prescription pickup, enabling pharmacists to better serve their community. Aliyah Rajwani is their pitch rep, and she's studying systems design engineering.
We trust our pharmacists. In fact, Canadians rank pharmacists as the healthcare professional that they trust the most. That's why, as there's increasing pressure on our healthcare system, we've turned to pharmacists for help. We now go to them to get our vaccines, for prescription pickups, and for diagnosing common illnesses. But even though we rely on them more, and they're stepping up to serve their communities, pharmacists are frustrated. Frustrated that with all these new responsibilities, they don't have time to provide the level of care that some of us need. Frustrated that they have a long list of tasks that require their expertise, but they're stuck spending up to 12 hours a week at the cash register handing out prescriptions. And across North America, that time is worth $231 million. That's where PharmaBox comes in. PharmaBox gives pharmacists up to 400 hours of their time back each year to use their expertise where it is needed. So how does it work? We automate the prescription pickup process with self-serve lockers in the pharmacy. The pharmacist simply scans the code that's already on prescription labels and places the prescription in a PharmaBox locker. The patient can then pick up at their convenience. Simple. What are other ways to address this problem? Well, you could hire more staff, but that's too expensive. Another option is delivery. Most patients don't use delivery services because they require waiting at home, and a missed prescription can be life-threatening. PharmaBox is the only locker solution specifically tailored to the pharmacy environment. It's compact, it integrates with existing pharmacy software, and most importantly, it's compliant with safety regulations. So how will we make money? We'll charge pharmacies a $135 monthly subscription, along with 50 cents per pickup. PharmaBox generates an annual revenue of $15,000 a year per pharmacy, while delivering 8 times that value to the customer. We'll start by targeting pharmacies in densely populated areas. With our revenue model and the number of pharmacies in North America, we're looking at an opportunity of $635 million. So far, we've talked to over 30 pharmacists, as well as leaders in the space. We truly understand the problem, and we know how to solve it best. We'll be launching 2 pilots in the upcoming weeks, one with PharmaSave Westmount and the other right here on campus. Our team is well equipped with the skills necessary to build PharmaBox. We have expert advisory with over 10 years of industry experience, and together, we're determined to make an impact big enough to transform patient care. Funding from Velocity will go directly to developing prototypes, which will be necessary as we implement 7 more paid pilots by the end of May. Thank you. PharmaBox will empower pharmacists to better serve their communities.
You may have already covered this in your pitch, but I was just wondering, you made a note about PharmaBox being compliant with the software, but Hardware-wise, where are these lockers actually going to be?
Sure. So the compliance piece is has to do with the regulations around prescription pickups. Addressing the hardware piece, those lockers will be directly in the pharmacies, and we've chosen that location so that it actually is easier for pharmacists with this prescription flow. We want to simplify their process, so as close to them as they can be is best.
And this is a very specific question, but most of the layouts of pharmacies that I know, they tend to be smaller, pretty crowded already with shelves. Have you done any layout analysis for the pros and cons of now more space being taken up by these lockers versus the benefits of having PharmaBox present?
Yeah. So that's a challenge that came up as we're beginning to launch our pilot projects. The good thing about PharmaBox is it's really able to be tailored to specific pharmacies. So the number of boxes you have, the footprint, that's all specific to the pharmacy.
And could you please clarify at some point, did you mention that per pickup pharmacists end up getting 50 cents back or something like that?
Yeah, so our solution, right now we're exploring a revenue model where we're only charging the pharmacists. So the model that we're looking at is derived from other software solutions in the pharmacy space, where there's a monthly subscription fee and then there's a fee per use. And in
Okay.
our case, that would be pickups.
So then on that point, given that Ontario recently allowed pharmacists to be able to prescribe medication themselves for 13 different conditions, would this now incorrectly motivate them to be prescribing more medication so they could get money back for more prescription pickups?
Yeah, there is a risk with that, but pharmacists have a code of conduct that they have to abide by. So that's something that's preventing that for now. We will also explore other solutions around that pricing model as we launch our pilots.
And are you limiting the type of prescriptions to any specific categories, like excluding narcotics and things like that?
Yeah, so right now the prescriptions we're looking at are primarily refill prescriptions. So those are prescriptions where patients are familiar with taking them and they typically deny patient consultation. Those account for over 75% of prescriptions. So just those alone will give pharmacists back a big chunk of their time.
You mentioned $231 billion a year in North America. Why was that not on your slide?
Yeah, 231 million.
Million or billion?
Million.
Okay, so why was that not on your slide?
We'll add it on our slide in future.
Okay. Perfect. And then just lastly is I want to see how you're going to scale from one pharmacy to another pharmacy because you're now deploying a hardware solution, right? So
Yeah.
so you're putting up these lockers. Even one slide or a couple sentences of how the most effective way of doing that. I think you've nailed it then. And I
Okay.
really liked how you transition from a pricing model to how big the market is going to be rather than just putting up, this is what Google says how big the market is.
Thank you. Thanks for the advice.
All right, we only have 2 more teams for tonight. Next up is Trash Talk, an AI-powered waste bin that detects and categorizes the type of waste a person is holding and directs them to the correct inlet. Here is Faisal Sabri, an undergraduate in mechatronics engineering, to pitch for Trash Talk.
So John is throwing away his Tim Hortons cup. But where does he put it? Is it paper, recycling, compost? Well, actually, the paper cup goes in paper and the plastic lid goes in recycling. In fact, only 30% of people guess correctly when disposing waste. After a velocity workshop, we saw that every single stream had paper plates in it, causing this entire bin to go to a landfill due to contamination. Due to this negligence, your negligence, the university sent 64% of its waste to landfills last year, resulting in a waste diversion rate of only 35%, which is the percentage of waste kept away from the landfill. And across Canada, for non-residential sources, such as universities, malls, and offices, this rate was only 23%. Now, this university spent $94K last year to haul 1,700 tons of waste to landfills. The crazy part is that 70 to 80% of that could have been diverted, according to the university's own waste audit. Speaking of waste audits, the university spends $15K per audit to hire a third-party contractor to come and manually search all the bins. Meet Trash Talk, which uses AI to classify the object a person is holding and selectively open the correct inlet only while keeping the other inlets closed. It further instructs the user by displaying the item above each inlet by the displays, allowing us to handle more complex situations such as multiple items or multi-component items such as the paper cup, which requires further instructions. Our design is retrofittable onto the existing bins on campus. And we built an IoT ecosystem which connects all of our bins together, allowing us to gather valuable data such as how much waste is diverted and the real-time status of each bin. Our customers save on waste hauling fees. They increase the rebates for recycling. They eliminate the need for waste audits. And most importantly, they improve their CSR by achieving their sustainability goals while having the data to prove it. And this trend to go green is growing rapidly, expected to reach a market size of $60 billion globally by 2027. And we can see this trend right here at the university. The University of Waterloo wants to reach a 60% diversion rate by 2025 and 90% by 2035. Remember, the rate is only 35% currently. We charge a fee to retrofit each bin and then a monthly subscription fee per bin to support the waste analytics pipeline. Our solution is the only one which physically forces the user to put it in the right bin while being super convenient, educational, and cost-effective. We have a partnership with Plantops, and we plan on doing pilot testing in E7 with them later this month, as well as a demo planned for next week. We are 4B mechatronics engineers, and we ask you to join us. Let's trash talk our way to a more sustainable future. Thank you.
Hey, just looking at that last slide. So are you currently in YC?
Oh no, this is our colleague Eric. He worked at YC portfolio companies before.
Oh, okay. So out of curiosity, on one hand, like first, great pitch. I love it. On the other side of things, I think that doing a B2B model like you're doing makes a lot of sense, especially as a hardware solution. Like that is a bit of an issue. But could you also just make an app for people so if they're just holding something in their hand and they have their phone, they can tell where that thing is probably supposed to go? Like if I'm in a location that doesn't have your hardware units, could you just release that? Because that's a problem that I suffer every day.
That's a great question. Actually, a product like that already exists from the university. It's called Shift Zero Waste. It's actually a website where you can go to it and go to the website and type the item that you have, and it'll tell you where to put it. However, as you can see, nobody uses it because it's just so inconvenient. Who's gonna, on their way to a lecture, stop by a bin, open up their phone?
Yours is computer vision though, right?
Ours uses computer vision, correct.
Right, so it could work on a phone and it would be different from the one that you're talking about.
Correct. However, that solution, it doesn't force the user to put it in the correct inlet. Our solution, because remember—
So you feel like there's a lot of chaotic individuals out there?
Correct. The source of the issue, the source of the issue is human ignorance and negligence at the point of disposal. So we need to force people to put it in the correct inlet while being super convenient. That's the only way to solve this problem.
So you're doing all this stuff at UW. The entire pitch was around UW.
Correct.
Right. So I'm assuming your go-to-market strategy is to go after universities first.
Correct. So we're confident that our first customer will be UW. And then after that, our target market is non-residential sources, which includes universities, corporate offices, and malls.
Why was that not in a slide?
It was. I mentioned it. Non-residential sources. Correct.
Okay. And then how big is the total kind of, so how much are you charging UW right now?
So we charge $750 to retrofit each bin, and then $25 per month per bin to support the AI software updates and waste analytics pipeline. And by the way, did
How
you know—
many bins are there in UW? Do you have that number?
400. 400 are eligible to use our product.
Okay, and they're paying you for all 400 for the pilot?
No, the pilot is only one.
Only one. Okay.
Correct. And also, just to mention, the existing garbage bins, they cost over $2,500. The regular garbage bins that you see on campus. So why not pay $750 more and make it a smart bin?
Got it. Just one piece of advice. I know you're really excited about your solution. Just speak a bit slower because it's really hard to understand as you're going through, right? So it's just a lot of content that you're trying to push through in 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
This might be a stats question you already covered earlier in your pitch, but I was just wondering how much trash or recycling is being misdirected as a result of the mix-ups with the bins?
70 to 80%. So 70 to 80% of the waste sent to landfills last year at the university could have been diverted, according to the university's waste audits. And the reason that happens is because if some of us simply put the wrong item in the wrong inlet, then that entire bag goes to the dumpster and goes to the landfill because of contamination.
And that's specifically UW. Do you have any stats about
Yes.
the non-residential waste?
23%, yes. So the waste diversion rate for non-residential sources is only 23%,
And the university is 80%?
35%.
Oh, where did that? Okay, there's just so many numbers getting thrown around. Okay.
Yeah, so let me clarify. So the waste diversion rate is the percentage of waste kept away from the landfill. So going to other places like recycling, right?
Okay.
So the university's rate is only 35% right now, right? And for non-residential sources, it's only 23% across Canada on average.
Okay, understood. So you're trying to reduce, improve. the waste
Increase the
diversion.
diversion
Yes, there we
rate,
go.
yes.
Okay.
And the university's goal is to reach 60% by 2025.
And how close are we to getting there?
Well, they cannot get there without our product.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our final pitch tonight comes to you from Viz. Their idea analyzes a company's code, generating documentation and interactive visualizations to help employees understand how their systems work. Please welcome to the stage Sebastian Oslis, who is an undergraduate in electrical engineering.
Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Awesome. Software systems are confusing. Imagine you just got hired at a fancy new tech startup as a developer. You're really excited to join your team and you are trying to be as productive as possible, as quick as possible. But there are a couple things in the way. There's limited documentation and no system diagrams. This is the case at many tech startups. They focus on rapid growth and innovation, and this comes at a cost. The cost is their documentation and diagrams are outdated within a few weeks. On average, it takes employees about 8 months to become fully productive members of their teams. But startups expect you to hit the ground running. Here's where Viz comes in. Viz analyzes your code and generates documentation and system diagrams to help your employees understand how your systems work. What is currently done? The current main option is drawing diagrams by hand and writing documentation. This takes a ton of time. And as I said before, becomes outdated very quickly for rapidly changing companies. What are some other options? Another option is the GitHub tool that they have. So they have a tool, which is a prototype tool, which is generated in 2021, and it's kind of confusing to use, and it doesn't kind of work automatically. You have to integrate it into your system. Another option is CodeC. They're easy to use, they generate diagrams automatically, and they target large companies like Salesforce. What about Viz? Viz targets startups with complex systems. We're easy to use, and we generate diagrams and documentation for you automatically. What do we have already? We already have a working demo that connects with your GitHub account and allows you to generate diagrams with a few clicks of a button. So you'd be generating diagrams like this from your code. That's all automatic. You click 2 buttons, choose the repository, click another button, click OK, and then you've generated your diagrams. This allows teams to increase their productivity and increase their user satisfaction and employee satisfaction. So what about our team? So our team is 4 electrical and computer engineers from Waterloo who have experience at a variety of companies from startups to Google. Our experience with a lack of documentation and system diagrams made us kind of really pushed towards creating Viz. What about our customers? Our main customers are companies, so tech startups with complex changing systems because they're the ones that need our tool the most. How are we going to get to them? So within Canada only, there's around 3,000 startups. And then in addition to this, like Velocity, there's 50 startup accelerators. We will be targeting startups that we have experience with already, so within our co-ops, as well as accelerators, offering them 3-month trials of our system to build a brand and to build case studies. Software doesn't have to be rocket science. All right, we need to be able to have better tools to help us understand these systems. And as someone who has had co-ops at these places, and the rest of my team who's had co-ops at these startups and places, we need systems like this. So Viz is here to make it easier for companies to understand their own code bases. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that pitch. I was just curious, when you say that employees need to understand how their systems work, how frequently do you see non-dev employees need to understand code diagrams or understand how the software system works?
It's a good question. So I think that depends on what you qualify as non-dev. So there's a lot of product managers and people like that who I would qualify as non-dev since they kind of don't do a lot of development themselves, but they have to understand how the tool works, kind of what is in the pipeline, what's the remaining kind of systems that are working around that. In addition, there's a lot of infrastructure employees and people that work on the infra side that need to understand how your systems are going to work, what kind of microservices are needed. And they aren't necessarily doing the dev themselves, but they may be working on the infrastructure surrounding that. So it is mainly a dev issue, but there's also a lot of other aspects of companies that integrate around those dev employees that need this as well.
Thank you.
Maybe I missed this. What's your business model?
So our business model is a software as a service, but it is going to be a yearly subscription for enterprises. So it's going to be an enterprise service. You pay a licensing fee, and then you have access to our system. And then in addition to that, at least just initially, we are going to be working with just allowing people to access this within their own GitHub accounts to be able to make and improve.
How much do you
our
expect on
infrastructure.
charging on an annual subscription basis?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So basically, as I was saying before, in one of the earlier slides, it takes employees around 8 months to get to full productivity. So let's say on average, they're working at 50% productivity within that time. That's around 4 months of lost productivity. So basically, each employee that you're trying to get and improve the onboarding time of is around 1/3 of their salary per year. So around, I think if we can estimate maybe 1/6 of their salary per employee, or even 1/6 of their salary as a single licensing fee for the entire company, I think that'll offer a significant improvement for their employees while also keeping it at a reasonable cost for them.
So how many users do you have currently?
So we currently just have the demo users that we have. So this went live a couple weeks ago, and we're working on adding, bringing it to new users. So it's kind of just in its initial demo phase. So none that are outside of our own friends and family.
About how many?
10.
Okay. And do you have any stories yet of how this has been impactful?
So not for our teams yet, because this is just our initial demo has been done recently, but we do have talks that we've had with our previous startups, as well as some other companies that we've talked to as to how this would be very useful. So kind of like the companies asking for this product.
Okay. Yeah, I think just as some feedback, some kind of testimonial or maybe a bit more story around this would be good.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Just one last point. How much are your competitors charging? Because I honestly don't think you should be just targeting startups. The market's way too small. It's only 3,000 that you showed. Figure out how much Monday.com is charging and the other kind of competitors of yours are charging, and just multiply by 3,000. That's your total annual market opportunity in Canada, right? So is that big enough for you to go after, or should it be going after other revenue sources as well?
That's a good question. So I think for the initial revenue sources and the initial customers, it will be those kind of tech startups within Canada. And I think that, at least personally, from the perspective of our company, our model will be slightly different. So a lot of them offer kind of freemium models where you have a per employee cost for their tools and for their systems. But what we would be doing would be a larger sum cost for your entire company. So it would no longer be scaled by the employees that you have. It'd be a kind of a single cost. And I do agree with you. If it was that kind of freemium model for those few users within those startups, then it would not be kind of scalable to that high. But it would be more so on the single lump sum cost for the whole year, as opposed to a by user rate. And we'd be offering kind of more of a boutique service, as opposed to these kind of Monday.com offering HR for the whole company as a variety of kind of services like that. So rather than focusing on kind of allowing you to have a wide array of services, which are each individually maybe minorly helpful and be a significant improvement into the onboarding specifically, as well as understanding the tech systems. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you to our teams, the audience, and our judges for joining us tonight. We hope to see you back here tomorrow for round 2. The finals will be held on Thursday, March 30th in SLC in the Black and Gold room from 11 until 1:30. Please register using the link on the screen. Everyone will also receive a copy of the recording from tonight's event. One quick note for the teams, we have some posters hanging in the hallway. Feel free to grab your team's poster and take it with you. And I also would like to give a friendly reminder to everyone after that pitch to use the recycling bins and the garbages, and please put all of your trash away. Thank you. But thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.